Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 8th grade concept of slope-intercept form, specifically how we can find it in graphs, and we will do it in 5 minutes or less. So we've got two different graphs here, and sometimes in 8th grade we will be asked to write the linear equation that matches this graph, and all we get is a graph. We don't get any numbers at all. So how do we do that? Well, first, remember that we are looking for our slope-intercept form. So it's going to end up looking like this. Y equals mx plus b. So we know x is our independent variable, y is our dependent variable. So m, let's go ahead and define that real quick. Remember, m is our slope. That's the slant of each line. And then b is going to be our y-intercept. So usually that's an easy one to see, because we can just see where does that line cross the y-axis. When x is 0, what happens to y? So slope is kind of the tricky one here. So slope is going to be our m, and so it is the change in y over the change in x. And so sometimes we will kind of remember it with the shorthand of rise over run. So let's start with this one on the left here, and all you need are 2 points, and then you can figure everything out here for the slope. So let's just plot this point right here. We've got x coordinate of 6, y coordinate of 1. Oh, and look, it's proportional right here. So it goes through the origin, so it's 0, 0. Remember, it's proportional if it goes through the origin, so that's going to be pretty easy. So what we do is we get our change in y. So really we just subtract 2 y coordinates, and we subtract 2 x coordinates. But since that second set of coordinates is 0, it's going to be pretty easy. So it's this, these y coordinates are going to be 1 minus 0, right? And then the x coordinates of 6 minus 0. So really it's just 1/6. So that's going to be our m. So y equals 1/6 x. And then we have b is going to be plus or minus whatever that y-intercept is, but it's direct variation. So remember, sometimes you get a direct variation when it's proportional, because there is no y-intercept other than just these zeros. So that's all we have. So that's going to be our equation. You don't really need to put a plus 0, so we don't have to worry about it on that one. So that was fairly easy. Let's see what happens over here on this side. So we are going to need 2 coordinates here. And so this is going to be, let's find this one right here. -2, looks like that's 6. And looks like that's -1, 1. All right, so once again, we're going to need to get our m. So remember, our m is the change in y over the change in x. Once we get that, the rest becomes pretty simple. So let's use these 2 coordinates here. So I'm going to use my y coordinates first. 6 minus 1 over, I've got -2 for my x minus -1. All right, so really what this turns into is this is 5. This is -2 minus -1, so 2 negatives make a positive. So really this is -2 plus 1. So really this is just going to be 5 over -1. So 5 over 1 is 5, but since it's a negative, we're just going to call this m equals -5. So it's got a negative slope, so it's slanting down, whereas the other one had a positive slope, a small one, but positive slope, so it's slanting up from left to right. All right, so we need to do this. Y equals, here's our m is -5x. We just need the y-intercept. So visually, we just need to see where does this cross the y-axis. And it's right here. And it actually crosses right there on a point. It's going to be 0, -4. So even though the form is plus b, it can be a minus. So it's going to be -4. So that's our final equation. Y equals -5x minus 4.